Yeah, this is the Seton Rivals podcast where each and every week during football season, we get after it. Yes, three guys, we get after it like the 8 teams in the Chandler area that we've been covering for a very long time. They got after it as well. 7 wins and 1 loss. The CUSD, they were very, very good. They were 5-0, and our 2 schools of faith, they were 2-0. Terrific, much like the growth of this platform. Yeah, we're on 3 platforms. Sports 360 AZ, Facebook page, and yes, Arizona Podcast Sports Network. It's good stuff. It is definitely good stuff. Yes, you've heard our voices for many years. We've been visible now for very many years. Speaking of visible, one guy in particular is a lot more visible than the other, and that would be Chili. Pretty soon he will pop out, and yes, there he is. You've seen him all over the place, and the other partner in crime, the founder of all of this, and that would be Ralph Amsden. He is an alum of Chandler High School. He is an alum of ASU. He gets it done in and around town, and it is always a pleasure to chop it up with these 2 guys. The first thing I'll ask you, and I always like to start off with a kind of an off-the-cuff question, something not immediately related to sports, or usually related to sports, but not related to Chandler football. Ralph, someone's voice who you heard for many, many years, and we didn't touch on it last week, and he had an influence on my life, the longtime voice of the Phoenix Suns. That's Al McCoy. And Ralph, you grew up here, so he is truly the first and, for all intents and purposes, the only basketball voice you've ever known. Your thoughts on just Suns basketball through his voice and through his lens, and how that transcended into you?
Yeah, I mean, I was 8 years old. I was my youngest child's age when the Suns went on their finals run with Barkley, Marley, Ainge, Sabalos, Marquest, all those guys. And so I mean that made the Valley really catch fire. Everybody was very into the Phoenix Suns. But they tipped off pretty late. I didn't have a TV in my room, but I did have a Sony recording and dubbing boombox with a really long antenna, and I would listen to the Suns games, and I would record them and listen to them back the next day, just to hear Al McCoy with Cotton Fitzsimmons, Tim Kempton, whoever he had as his partner, Greg Schulte, for a while. And I didn't do a lot of thinking about my future when I was a kid, but if I wanted to do anything, I wanted to be Al McCoy, and if I couldn't be Al McCoy, I wanted to just continue to listen to him. And I for the longest time when the Suns went off and on to, I think, Channel 34, and Tom Leander was doing the games, and, nothing against Tom, I would still mute them and listen to them on the radio. And then I remember for my 30th birthday, which feels like a really long time ago now, but we were doing this podcast back then. My wife drove down to Talking Stick or Footprint or whatever it's called now, and she just hunted him down and said, like, "Hey, my husband's a huge fan of yours. We're coming to a game in a couple of days. We'll, if we come down, will you be around to meet him?" And he said, "Yeah." So for my 30th birthday, she took me out to the Suns game. She had bought me Al McCoy's book and got it signed for me, and I got it over my shoulder right there.
There we go.
And yeah, I was just a huge fan from a distance. And all 51 years were awesome. I go back and listen to old clips sometimes. And, he was just the voice of my favorite team. And I have so many awesome childhood memories of him saying Suns win. And it's a bummer that he's gone, but like not many people get to do what he did and leave the legacy that he left. So it's almost really hard to be sad because, none of us are going to make it out alive. And for him to have had the impact that he did and live the life that he did and be somewhere beyond where we're at now with Cotton Fitzsimmons, with his wife, with Walter Davis, who just passed away a few months ago. And and Paul Westfall, who just passed away a few months ago. I'm sure it's a great reunion. And so I was just a huge fan. Sad to see him go, but what a life.
Absolutely. And I have a story similar to yours, but Chili, I will ask you, you've been in the Valley longer than I have. Tell me about Al McCoy.
Yeah, listen, I'm not, I don't think as invested on that side, like as Ralph and a whole bunch of other people, like, one of my mentors, Super Snake, he would always, big up, Al McCoy and, what he meant to the Suns. And, the only way that he could relate it to me was he told me that, Al McCoy was like the Bob Shepard, for the Suns, the longtime, Yankees guy. So kind of like the voice, and I remember like Derek Jeter kept his intro from him, if that's right. And I know like some of the names like the Schick Hearns and stuff like that. And he meant a lot. And I know people have like the little catchphrases, the Shazams and the strings one and things like that. So like I think that stuff is super cool to he's got quite the legacy. I wish they would have done him better with the tribute patch. I felt like he deserved more than his name on the black stripe, but like I think that everybody knows what he means to the franchise. And yeah, that big footprint that he left for the next person.
Absolutely. Now I hear you. I'll say this: 12 years ago tomorrow, October 3rd, 2012, I sat and met with Al McCoy. I had known that I was going to be moving here over the course of a good part of 2012, and I just wanted to get familiar with people in the Valley. So I emailed him from New York many months ago, hey, aspiring broadcaster, etc., and I'd love to be able to catch up with you late September, early October before the season starts. And he responded. I didn't expect him to respond, but he did. And I didn't really know the magnitude of, I'm going to say, his broadcasting skills. I'd certainly heard the name and knew who he was, and a longtime broadcaster, but I didn't know what he meant to the city. So on October 3rd, I went down to Footprint Center and went up to his office, and we sat and we had probably about a 45-minute conversation. And he told me about how he broke into the business and just some of the things that he needed to do to stay involved in the business. And he gave me a couple of tips just to kind of try to keep myself relevant and that sort of thing. So when I look back, it's certainly emails that I will certainly save. I have not deleted them. I will keep them for a very long time, but just a very gracious man with his time, as you experienced, Ralph, just a terrific broadcaster and terrific gentleman overall. So, I mean, I'll say definitely rest in peace, Al McCoy. You meant a lot to a lot of different people. But we'll slide into the matter at hand, and that are these very, very good C-Town Rivals podcast teams. We're going to start with the Valley Christian Trojans, and they won by forfeit over Bourgade Catholic. Their record is now even at 3. Ralph, something that is, I'm going to say, kind of on my radar, and we're jumping away from the Trojans in particular. It seems like more and more teams are starting to unfortunately have to forfeit for various reasons. We see Bourgade Catholic this past week. Central had to do it earlier this season. Coolidge has done it recently in the last 2 weeks. That's tough to see, Ralph, because collectively we like to see competition. We like to see games. We don't like to see teams have to go through whatever it is they're going through.
Yeah, I think there's a few things that factor into this. Football is more demanding than it used to be. You used to be able to just show up to practice, put pads on, practice, show up to the game, play. A few years ago, the AIA, in wanting to make sure that coaches weren't losing kids to club events and stuff like that, they kind of gave coaches 365-day access to these kids, which I think increased the burnout rate on coaches, on athletic directors, and it increased the time commitment for kids in what used to be not a leisure activity, but an extracurricular activity, kind of became a job. And on top of that, there's a lot of expenses, physical and monetary, that go along with playing football. And
very true.
The fact that we're in kind of a downturn as far as the economy, inflation, stuff like that. The truth of the matter is, when things aren't good economically, there are a lot of families who need their 15, 16, 17-year-olds all hands on deck to either watch kids so that they can pick up a second job, or send those kids to work so that they can contribute financially to the family. For a long time, the whole thing was like, oh, football, it's not safe, so we're going to see the numbers dwindle. And I think that made an impact at the time. But the truth of the matter is, coming out of COVID, there was a couple of years where if you would have been playing youth football, you weren't. And so the entry point becomes high school, where the skill level's higher. Nobody wants to go in and get blasted by 1 million points. The last game that Bourgade Catholic played, they lost 69-0. They didn't play last week, and they're not going to play this week.
Oh,
so
wow. Okay.
They've already forfeit their game against Florence. So wow. I think there's a lot of stuff that factors into it. Like, I think the numbers are depressed more for economic reasons, and more for the fact that the expectation is just that instead of this just being a season of your life, 4 months of your life out of the year, so that you can go wrestle, or you can go do track, or you can hold a job or something like that. The spring practices are getting longer. Sevens are getting longer. Just the time commitment to be a football player is a lot more. You throw injuries on there, you throw illness on there, you throw the economic factors on there. And some of these schools that don't have great participation anyway, they're going to have to face a choice on whether they play games or not. But we've seen Central forfeit, we've seen Mojave forfeit, and now Bourgade is forfeiting a couple of games back to back.
Coolidge.
Coolidge, yes. And the crummy thing for Valley Christian is this is going to affect their playoff hunt. They're currently ranked 14th in the AIA rankings. And had they been able to play Bourgade and have that fourth win, they might go down a little bit in strength of schedule, but that fourth win would probably have them up around 11 or 12 instead of 14. 14 is the danger zone. So a bummer for everybody involved. But you don't know what's going to happen. You do your best to field the team, and you don't know what's going to happen during the regular season. I don't know what's going on with Bourgade Catholic right now, but I know that it's getting harder and harder to make the commitment that football demands of you, certainly harder than it was 5-10 years ago.
Chili, I'll ask, you have a pulse on a lot of schools in the Valley. Are we seeing less freshman teams and JV? And we're not talking about any schools in particular at all, but just, is this something that could start to increase? I mean, we've rattled off 4 or 5 schools. Next year, this time, could that number be up to 10? And if it's not, our team's going to cut out freshman teams because of that participation factor?
Man, I honestly, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to answer that question, or if this is going to answer that question. But man, I'll tell you something, like, in an effort to try to make sure that all levels in terms of 6A, 5A, 4A are all like competitive. It's created a situation where a school like Saguaro moves all the way up, but they're really struggling to field like lower levels. And they were kind of struggling to do that effectively, even at the end of Mons' tenure there. Like, I've been covering freshman football, like for a long time now, like going out and watching these games back when, like, just to kind of bring this back to C-Town, back when like Conover and Liebrock and all those kids were freshmen, DeCarlos Brooks, like all those guys were freshmen. So like, I don't know what the solution is, but I feel like if you can only have 2 levels of football, you should have a varsity, and then you should have like a Frosh soft team. If you can only have 2 levels, so that way you can start developing kids. You can start developing kids to get them ready for the Friday nights. Now, the problem is that would be Saguaro. Now, my other side of that was going to be, if you can only have 2 levels, you should probably only be in like in maybe the 4A. But Saguaro was there, and they were destroying everybody. Can't keep them there. They're way too competitive for that level. So I don't know what the solution is, but to see all these teams forfeiting in the manner that they are, they're not able to bring kids up. They're not able to. They're doing it last minute. They're doing it last minute though. Like, how are you like? As an administrative staff, the AD, the head coach, like, how are you guys canceling on somebody on a Tuesday or a Wednesday for a Friday night game? Like, that's absolutely, well, that's disrespectful first. That's absolutely disrespectful to your school, to the other school, like to your kids. That's insane. Like, something's got to be done better so that teams have adequate time to figure out, like, hey, who am I going to play then to replace you? Because there's homecomings, there's senior nights. Like, you have no idea who's homecoming or senior night you're ruining. And those teams, like, they invest a lot of money into those events, the photographers, all the floats and designs and all those cool things. Like, dude, you're ruining somebody's senior experience. Like, and I don't know. I don't know what the right way is, but somehow, like, something's got to be figured out, because this is what's going on now is crazy. And I don't even think it's, and like, I don't even think it's like, I don't even think it's like the ducking thing that we were experiencing like during the pandemic. Like, this is different.
Right. No,
very
I agree.
Different.
No, you guys both brought up some very, very good points. And for Valley Christian, they have a little short road trip. They will take on Gilbert Christian. And as Ralph mentioned, they are currently the number 14 seed. And we'll see the big school rankings come out starting next Tuesday. The Seton Catholic Sentinels. What a story this is. They are now 4-1 on this season. They outscored Estrella Foothills 37-21, 3 straight wins, all on the road. Senior leadership. Luke Aguiar, 190 yards on the ground and 4 touchdowns. Ralph, these ball hawks, that's what I'm going to start calling them. These ball hawks, they got me fired up. 16 interceptions in their 5 games. I don't know if that's a team record or not, or whatever they're doing back in that backfield. That's awesome. You combine that with 2 picks by someone we hadn't mentioned on Seton Catholic, Gray Jorgensen. Ralph, this team, this Sentinel team is playing really, really well. I love it.
Oh, Ralph, I think
you're on mute.
Did you mute? Is that?
My bad.
There we go.
You're all good.
He got so fired up about Seton.
I was trying to read your lips.
Got fired up about Seton Catholic.
Well, I had to mute myself for some of the words that the Catholic school kids didn't need to hear, but they're just very physical. They're very opportunistic, and they're extremely confident right now. And now they're in a strange situation where, you know, they're, well, I don't want to jump the line here, but some of the stuff that they've been able to do well isn't necessarily stuff that they're going to be able to rely on in the stretch run of their schedule, but they, it's just got to feel good. It's just got to feel good. It's that bamboo metaphor, right? Chili, the Kenny Dillingham thing. You water it, you water it, you water it, and the roots grow, and then all of a sudden they shoot up. And, you know, from the text messages that we were all sending each other when they got down big against Ironwood Ridge, and then they started coming back, and it was like, oh, is this, you know, is this team going to do something special? And I think we were even half joking at the time, and they, you know, all they've done since halftime of that game is dominate. So I don't know.
The joke's on us.
Very much.
It is.
Very much so. And I mean, what did Chase Dixon went 8 for 8? So no incomplete passes in the game.
There's Jared Goff out there.
Chili, you know, my favorite stat is always more touchdowns than incompletions. I love that stat, right? Which he definitely achieved because he went 8 for 8. But how about having more interceptions than your quarterback had incompletions? Like that's crazy. That's a whole nother level of it. And the fact that they're getting players involved that previously, you know, hadn't had some of those interceptions and sacks and tackles for loss. It's contagious. Success is contagious, and sometimes it's year over year contagious. So, you know, Shout out to the Sentinels for building the culture, and it's paying off, and it's been really, really fun to see. The 4A is so crowded, so I don't even want to talk about playoffs or anything like that. It's just that, like, regardless of what happens, this has been a very special season.
It has. In Chile, I think for me, what I'm really loving, they're blowing people out. They aren't winning 27-20. Oh, hey, last second field goal. Like you said, Ralph, they're dominating. Like they're getting after it, Chile. I mean, none of us expected that they'd be 4-1. Yes, the joke truly is on us.
Man, you gotta love that entire defense. Talked about it a little bit last night, but Sloan Sweet, Owen QB Hunter, my man is out there doing what he got to do to make sure that his guys in the defensive backfield can get those interceptions. One of those guys being Josh Brown, he's an absolute stud right now. These guys are playing hard, man. High level of confidence, throughout the team, and they're going to carry this into the second half of the season. Like, this is a team that, we might be talking about like a 7-8 win team. Who knows, right? 4-1 right now, though. Like, man, Sentinels used to be like the laughing stock. Nobody's laughing anymore. People are seeing Seton come to town, and they're like, yo, guys, buckle those chin straps. These guys are for real. And what Coach Walheim has done, he put the W back in his name and really got this thing cooking. I'm so happy for what's going down over there on Dobson and Ray. They got a lot
1150 North Dobson.
Yeah, you know the deal. And Luke Aguilar, the kid that I've been talking about for like 3 years now, and just waiting for him to pop off and show what he's capable of, and he's really doing it. So shout out to all those kids over there, man. They're doing amazing.
I need to know who's running this defense.
Yeah, we need to find out. Hey, Brett, when you go talk to Walheim next, you got to find out.
Well, I'll say I've got a decision to make. We'll talk about some of these games coming up, but yes, unbeaten 4-0 Snowflake coming to town. That's I don't know. What do we know about Snowflake?
Are they coming to Seton, or is Seton going up there? I thought
Snowflake is at Seton Catholic on Friday night.
Snowflake's at Seton. Oh, okay. I thought Seton was going to Snowflake. Okay. Look, they're gonna have to prepare for that running back combo. Carter Raban and Canton Turley. Those guys run hard, and that's Snowflake's MO. These guys are gonna try to cut the game in half. Take at least like I don't know, probably like 25, 30 minutes easy running the ball. So LeDuc, thready quarterback, more thready than thrower. And they got guys that'll go after the quarterback. So hey, this is gonna be tough. Coach Solomon's got a well run team and super disciplined. So I'm excited to see how this one turns out.
I checked the website. Defensive coordinator's name is Brian Hunter. So take a bow, my friend.
Yes, definitely deserves to. It's the Sentinels. I will say this red and gold is something else. The Arizona College Prep Knights, they keep on rolling. They take down previously unbeaten Yuma Catholic 43-29. This was just a game you never really felt that ACP was going to lose. I mean, they were in control much. They came out swinging. It was just seeing back-to-back 99-yard touchdown kickoff returns for touchdowns was something I'd never seen. Max Sasso returned the favor that Hunter Hancock had did 4 real minutes prior to it. So it was a wild game. The ACP bench was fired up. I mean, they were saying some choice things, which was interesting to hear. It was good stuff. But speaking of good stuff, let's hear what the head coach Steve Vaught has to say about his coaching staff, about his wide receiver combination, and the running back combination. I'm here with the head coach of the Arizona College Prep Knights, and that is Steve Vaught. And Coach, you guys took down the Yuma Catholic Shamrocks, and the one thing that impressed me from the get-go was the fourth down efficiency. You guys were going to go for it on fourth down. Seemed like almost no matter what.
It wasn't a plan going into the game. It was more a feel of how the game was going. And I always kind of put that responsibility on our offensive coordinator, Robert Ortiz. And he was confident in all those moments. So because he was confident and had a good play call, I let him roll with it, and the players executed and made the plays at the right time.
Offensively, you've got a lot of talent, but what jumped out obviously Friday nights, quarterbacking, receiving, connecting not once, twice, but 3 times. Heinrich to Sanchez was something special.
Yeah, I agree. Those two young men have been playing football together for a long time. They played youth ball together, and it's pretty obvious that they have a solid connection and chemistry together out there on the field. And Ashton is a very smooth receiver with some really good techniques to create separation with DBs. And then, Evan has a lot of trust in him and did a great job with his deep ball accuracy on Friday night.
Your assistants, your coordinators in particular, doing a fantastic job. I'll say this, even so fantastic, you kind of get lost in the middle of everything because you figure as a reporter, I'm not allowed in the box. So it's like, okay, I'm seeing Ortiz, I'm seeing defensively, but is he somewhere in the middle? And yes, you were, but you've delegated really well and so far so good.
Yeah, all 3 of our coordinators, Robert Ortiz for offense, Cody Bartz on defense, and Derek Wendell-Schaefer on special teams, they're doing a phenomenal job. They're putting in the work throughout the week to prepare the players. And, I would never call a game when I haven't put in the work like they have. And they're doing a phenomenal job throughout the week of themselves being prepared and getting the boys ready.
One guy defensively who seems like he's always ready, that's Cam Mitchell. Tell me about his skill set.
Yeah, he started for us last year as a sophomore and ended up with 108 tackles as a sophomore, and he's really picked it up where he left off last year. And he's almost at 50 tackles so far through our 5 games. And yeah, he's been an impact player every single week, and is in the argument for defensive MVP for us after each of our games.
Jumping back over to offense, we talked about Heinrich and Sanchez, but you've got 3 running backs who seemingly get an equal amount of carries for the most part. They all have a slightly different skill set, but it's really deep knowing you have 3 guys, not only for depth, but also certain situations.
Yeah, definitely. All 3 of our running backs, Alec Grant, Max Sasso, and Tyler Lauder, like you said, a slightly different skill set. Alec is more of our power runner, but has good speed when he gets out in the open field. Max is our kind of our scat back, kind of our Christian McCaffrey, who's really skilled out in space, and Tyler can kind of do a little bit of everything really well. But like the 3 running backs would say, it really all starts with our offensive line that's done a phenomenal job. And we've had 7 guys that have rotated those 5 spots, and so our offensive line is doing a great job of opening up holes for those guys, and then those guys are doing a great job of finding the hole and making plays from there.
You've been around the CUSD for a while, coming over from Chandler High School. From afar, you saw this school in its very infant stages, and you'll probably be the first to give Coach Bluford credit for building this up. How cool is it to see something from across town but now be part of it?
Yeah, it's cool to see a school grow like this, and we're kind of in the right situation at the right time. We have a lot of talented players. We really have 2 strong classes. We have a strong senior class and strong junior class, which probably our greatest strength as a team right now is our depth. So we have a lot of depth and not really a lot of fall-offs from our 1s to our 2s and even our 2s to our 3s in a lot of positions. So having depth is definitely a huge thing in football.
Vista Grand is next, and it's on Thursday, short work week. What's the initial scouting report on that team and how you handle that on a short work week when school is not in session?
Yeah, well, I think school not being in session is a good thing for us because it's an opportunity for the boys to get rest and hydrate throughout the day. But they're pretty much the 4th straight playoff caliber opponent that we've had in state, and we kind of talked about it as a team that this 4-game stretch kind of simulates a 4-game run in the 4A playoff. So this is our 4th game in a row of a playoff caliber opponent, and they've got a lot of talent and really good size, and so it's going to be another tough game for us. But we feel like we have a good practice plan for the week to have the boys ready to play their best on Thursday night against Vista.
Coach, keep up the great work. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, guys.
I want to stay offense for the rest of this segment. Chili, just talk to me about this passing game because it's deadly. It's nice.
Yeah, no, Heinrich's fully dialed in. Ready to let that thing go to any one of his receivers. I know he's got Poole over there. I know he's got obviously Sanchez. I caught up with Sanchez last night, and I didn't know him and Heinrich grew up together, straight out the crib. And so they know each other. Heinrich knows where Ashton's going to be at all times. Just has to watch the body movement, and he can already tell. So they have great chemistry, great communication. Also, that offensive line over there is doing a hell of a job, getting a lot of push and creating a lot of room for Heinrich to operate, and those running backs too. So shout out to the job over there. And I know you wanted to stay offense. I got to show love to that defense too. So shout out to Coach Barton and what they're doing over there. Absolutely amazing. Tice Turner, an absolute monster.
Ralph, from a running game, we've talked about the 3 running backs. The one guy I like them all, Alec Grant. He's a guy who he'll get you the yards you need, whether it's 1st and 10 or 4th and 1. He's built, man. He is this ground game is going to pay off come November and hopefully into December.
Yeah, listed at 5'10", 180, but like you said, he probably runs like he's bigger, like a fullback. He's the only player against Yuma Catholic to really spring a run. Outside of his 28-yard carry, they had 29 carries for less than 80 yards. So, Yuma Catholic did a great job against the run game, and him breaking through is probably one of the things that made the biggest difference. And you talk about this offense, when you go from averaging 27 points a game to 39 points a game over the course of one off season, you're doing something right. And it's not like this team is chock full of seniors, that they're still building something. Gunnar Schmidt's a sophomore. Max Sasso is a junior. Kyle Poole's a junior. You brought up Evan Heinrich. He's a junior. Ashton Sanchez, who had 142 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns, a junior. He's coming back. And, the defense has a lot of young talent as well. So I'm really excited for what Coach Vaught's building out there. And that was an awesome interview with him. And it's always cool to hear him talk about, being able to come into a situation that had all of the ingredients and cook up something new.
Yeah, it is definitely something special. I also will give props to Sir Stokes from Yuma Catholic. He is a player. It was great to see him in action, but more so great to see ACP with the W. The Casteel Colts, they score in every quarter, and they handle the Mesa Jackrabbits 42-27. They got the offense they needed. Chile, Isaiah Linier, 158 yards and 4 touchdowns. Senior Nathan McConnell, 4 catches for 120 yards. He's a guy we hadn't talked much about, but the fact that he's a senior, that just gives credence to what Robert Newcomb is doing over there. Good to see good production on back-to-back weeks.
No, for sure, man. Listen, I like Casteel. I like what Coach Newcomb does over there. His way, it works. They'll find ways to get victories. Paul Palmer's been absolutely spectacular this season. Love what I've seen from him, the quarterback, super savvy out there. And I know that game was close for a minute. So I'm guessing that they pulled away late. So Mesa, testament to Mesa. Look, what Mesa's doing, they're building a solid foundation over there with Coach D, and I know they brought Coach Roberts over from Mountain View, and Coach Kleka running the athletic department. So Mesa back to being a football school. So because they're like a basketball school, they're kind of like a Kansas, if you will. So they're finally putting things together and getting things right, and healthy competition, man. Look, they competed with a Premier Region team, and I think it was a good test for Casteel. I'm excited for what this CUSD region is going to be doing in the next couple of weeks, because it's going to be a lot of close games. It's going to be this is paving the way for a lot of excitement for what's coming on the podcast.
And we will definitely talk about that region play at the end. This is indeed going to be very good. Ralph, something the Colts did, which they hadn't done in a few weeks, they won the 4th quarter. That was very, very important. They threw the goose egg. They scored a couple TDs late. That's what they're going to have to do moving forward to be successful.
And it's what they did in week 1. So, yes, it's a trend. Yes, they've been outscored, I think, 40-14 in the 4th quarter of the previous 3 games. but they went into the fourth quarter against Boulder Creek tied at 21, outscored them 10-0. Went into the fourth quarter of this game against Mesa 28-27, 1 point advantage, end up scoring 14. And so they can do it, right? They've shown that they can do it. But yeah, after the last few weeks, you get a little bit worried because even in that Mountain Ridge game, they pump the brakes, get some young guys in there, get outscored 6-0, and it just kind of adds to this stat total, which is really more about what I think more than anything else, it's about what happened against Queen Creek, right? Because the Mountain Point game that was a close battle. It's not like all hell broke loose in the fourth quarter. Like it did in that Queen Creek game where I think you had 41 total points scored and 27 of them were by the Bulldogs. So was worried about that becoming a trend for them to pull away late. That's what good teams do, and that's what the fourth quarter's for. Anybody, we know this, anybody can match up with you for 3 quarters if they've got some dudes. But that fourth quarter is really going to be what, makes all the difference if you are the more talented team. They need to continue to beat teams that we would consider to be not as talented as them to gear up for some of the tough games they have down the stretch.
That's definitely fair to say. It's a bye week for the Colts before they enter region play on October 11th. The Perry Pumas, they notched their first shutout win under head coach Joseph Ortiz, 45-0. They knock out Shadow Ridge. Cale Snyder, he spread the ball around, and Ralph, 3 touchdown passes, one to Hayden Moon, one to Maddox Ford, and a good freshman, Amos Augustine. Ralph, I'll tell you, he might be listed at 6'2", but I can tell you he plays way bigger than that. He really is that guy. Great to see Perry rebound from the loss.
Can anybody else name any freshmen that played varsity for Perry?
My guy Kenny Foltz.
There it is. That's
way back in the day.
Throwback name.
Yeah. No.
I like this Augustine kid. I mean, I got to see him when they played Brophy, and I mean, he was in the mix. Like, you could not tell that he's a freshman. I mean, he ran his patterns right. He did his blocking assignments. I mean, he's good. I like what he can bring. This is a good Perry team.
All right, man, so I'm sorry, Chile. I don't mean to make this a theme.
No, go ahead.
But I'm going to read you some numbers that are pretty mind-blowing. 36.
Carries.
36 and 28. That is the amount of passing yards they allowed in this game and the amount of rushing yards they allowed in this game.
Wow, did they shut him down like that? Okay. Good.
64 total yards for Shadow Ridge. There have been games where this Perry defense has given up 64 yards on a single play 4 times in one game.
This is true.
DeCarlos Brooks had 300 some yards rushing against
in
this
the title game.
Time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's true.
64 yards in a varsity football game. 7 of 20. They only allowed 7 completions. They completely bottled up the running game. This is defensive dominance. Like I got freaking goosebumps.
Oh, you got the goosebumps going? Oh, man. All right. Hey, look, man, it's cool to see, right? This is a different type of Perry than we're used to. And guys like Nate Wheeler, Maddox Ford, they got dudes on that side of the ball. They absolutely did what they had to do versus a team that they had to do it to. And
correct. That's right.
In the past, we would see Perry beat a team like this, but we wouldn't see them dominate a team like this. Like, that team would end up finding a way to get 14, 21 points on the board. Coach Ortiz has these guys thinking different over there on that side of Val Vista. This is going to be very, very scary for what's coming in the next few weeks. This team was super competitive versus Brophy. Man, I love what I am seeing over there. And the Amos Augustine kid, that kid's been special. I saw him I saw him in the offseason before he even stepped foot on Perry at some elite camps versus some of the elite competition in the country. Him standing next to like guys like Jerome Miles over in Utah, who just committed to SC, 5-star receiver, and he was just competing, doing his thing. So I am not surprised. And hey, like you said about Caleb, you're going to get a lot more touchdowns out of this kid.
Absolutely. And again, props to the defense. It's their first shutout since September 9th, 2016. They did it 43-0 at Sandra Day.
And special teams. They forced 7 punts. They had one player with a 17-yard return. They had another player with a 36-yard return, and then Jaden Kimling with a 73-yard punt return for a touchdown. They forced as many punts as Shadow Ridge had complete passes. The longest play of the game.
We're going to have all type of stats on this show.
Sheesh.
Longest play of the game for Shadow Ridge, 9 yards.
Wow.
That's crazy.
We said last week they had to take out those frustrations that they had against Brophy on Shadow Ridge. So, Chili, you said it well. They did it to a team they needed to do it to. And, yes, we love Zadebski, but at the same time, Ortiz is part of the CSD and others are not right now. So, Pumas.
And hold on. Like, if I'm not mistaken, I think the defensive starters only played like the first half. The starter, I don't know if it was both ways, but I'm pretty sure like the defensive starters, they did not play much into the third. So that makes it even more impressive.
That's good.
Yeah, building depth.
Good stuff. And they too are off until October 11th when region play starts. The Chandler Wolves, they fall to 4-1 on the season after dropping a tough one to the Highland Hawks, 20-14. Ralph, very competitive game. The Wolves, they were able to sustain a long drive with Tristan Halsana. They had the scoop and score. They hung with them. I was they were down 14-0. It's like, okay, well, maybe we don't know much about Chandler as much as we thought, but the fact that in the end it was 20-14, and you put up a little video, they were very, very close to getting a key first down. They fell short there, but overall, I think the Wolves seemingly played well, and they are a competitive team.
Yeah, we saw this with Arizona State at Texas Tech. You dig yourself a 14-0 hole while you're still trying to figure out what you're doing offensively. Doesn't matter that you turn around and play better than the other team the rest of the way. The hole you dug is the hole you dug. So I don't know. It felt like Highland kind of held Chandler at arm's length for the majority of the game. It felt like the better team won. Obviously, Chandler didn't have everybody available to them, but you can't let a sophomore running back get almost 200 yards on you. You can't. And so,
Cruz Cullimore, we're talking about?
Okay. Yeah. So Highland was the more physical team. They were the team that was more dedicated to the run game, which is going to be hard for Chandler to do once they got down. I think the better team won. Now, is it going to be the better team for the rest of the season? I don't know. You think Coach Garrettson's like, well, we only lost by 6. I don't think he cares about that at all. It remains to be seen if this is going to be a turning point for Chandler or if this kind of revealed who they're going to be. Either way, I think that it's good. I think it's good for a young team to learn what ails them, to fight back from it, and to maybe not be too high on their own supply. So I don't know. I'm not trying to soft sell a Chandler loss because I think they got beat by more than the 6 points reflects. But at the same time, it's better to have this happen early in the season. It's better to be tested. They had kind of a softer schedule than they usually do earlier in the season. So maybe this is the equivalent, Chili, of the losses that they would take to a Mountain Point or a Corona Centennial that would really wake them up moving forward in the season. It remains to be seen. I know they didn't have everybody that they're going to have, but at the same time, a loss is a loss. And this was a real – like this wasn't like the refs did it or luck. This was a Highland team that came in, was more physical than you, and a sophomore running back tore you up. So you got to look in the mirror and figure out, what you got to do different from here moving on. But it was a great, great win by Highland.
Absolutely. Chili, what does this team need to Neither do we know who they play next. That's the defending state champions. Yeah, did they pass a test? What's this Wolves team about?
Hamisi Juma, he looked good on defense. Skylar
Absolutely.
Armida was solid on offense. And that offense is going to get a little bit of punch, a little bit of help in the form of Jai Jones. Jai Jones is now going to be eligible to play this week, I believe, right? Because we're already in the second half of the season. So that's going to be a boost for the offense. Jai Jones is one of the super talented kids, probably maybe the most talented 27 in the state, arguably. One of the best wide receivers that I've seen. So, they're going to get some help. The offensive line. Look, I know everybody's kind of pointing to the defensive lineman from Highland getting the pick six right at the line, but that offensive line at Chandler, like they're going to be okay. They're going to put this thing together, and they need to see a team like Highland because they're going to be seeing teams like this the rest of the way.
Absolutely.
You're about to ask a question you said about the region, and that thing's coming up, and this is the most competitive region in the state. So, I mean, it doesn't make sense to keep the schedule super baby food soft at the beginning when you know you're going to have to eventually run into this gauntlet. So, look, they'll be fine. Coach Garrettson's one of the best adjusters that I've seen. So he'll figure out what the problems are and try to, fine tune them, tweak them. Guys are going to get healthy and get ready to go. And things are going to work out. I talked to Aidan Browder up at NAU, and he was on his official visit, and he said, man, he's like, I'm just gonna get healthy, and then we're gonna see what happens next, and we'll see them down the line hopefully. So he's ready.
Indeed, Friday night, the Liberty Lions at the Chandler Wolves. The Basha Bears, they continue their strong season with a 58-21 rout of Sandra Day O'Connor. The 4-1 Bears, 58 points, most scored since last year's season opener at Westwood when they hung 66 on that team. Brody Bears, a career-high 379 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions all year. Hayden Rodriguez, he stepped into the act with a couple of TD passes. Ralph, we know they are balanced, but what's cool is they pretty much did it by air, and it was the Cash and Dash show.
Yes, it was. I think that I think I said, they needed to run the ball. Obviously, that was my opinion. They are tearing people up through the air. They just are. It's wild to me that they get up big and they still throw, but I don't know. What do you guys think of it? Are we being too hard on them? By we, I mean me.
No. Look, this is their offense. This is what Coach McDonald wants to do. This is what Coach Felker over there wants to do. Man, he wants to keep the ball in Brody's hands and give him an opportunity to make as many plays as possible, while still feeding the beast that is Noah Roberts. Congratulations on the Oklahoma offer. I know there's more coming soon. But look, this team is put together very, very well. Obviously, Jake Hildebrand, absolute dog, and then Sam Garcia over there. The line play is solid. The receiving room is fantastic with Cash Brock, Dash Blake, Gio Richardson. One of the better receiving rooms in the state. So Brody Beers, absolute dude.
I guess I got
Mason a tight end too.
Yeah, I guess I have to give O'Connor credit. They took the run game away. I don't think Basha wanted to not be able to run the ball, but if every one of their 535 yards through the air was just going to be available to them, then you got to do what you got to do. It is wild to see a team throw for 500 yards and at the same time not be able to rush for 3 yards a carry in a blowout.
Right, that is crazy.
Maybe it's a credit to O'Connor, but it's funny because you take Noah Roberts away in the run game, 5 carries for 12 yards. He still had a touchdown, but he's like, all right, well, let me just get 92 yards receiving then. So
it's crazy.
I don't know. Maybe sometimes the pass game is the run game. And to have, what did they have? They had 5 receivers with over 40 yards, 3 with over 90.
Yeah,
hey,
that's
Brody
insane.
Veers, do your thing.
Chili, let me ask you this. When I ask you to compare last year's team and this year's team, that's not really a fair question necessarily, but what I will ask you is just kind of compare and contrast. I guess I'm trying to say the same thing in a sense of, you figure we know what DeMond did the last 4 years,
right?
But the Bears have not necessarily had the drop off in quarterback. But go ahead.
Okay. Let's be fair on a couple things.
Yeah, no, that's.
I will make this comparison between 20 players. Okay. What we're going to do is we are going to take DeMond and Brody out of this conversation, just to be fair.
That's fair.
And then we are going to subtract Miles Lockhart also, because the kid was absolutely phenomenal for 4 years. These are 4-year starters that are so hard to come by, so rare in Arizona's toughest region of play. So difficult.
And you also have to remember that Miles Lockhart was coached well in his youth days.
He was coached well in his youth days. I was just about to say that. You beat me to it, but I was about to say that. So I'm actually going to make this comparison between 20.
No, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah,
no.
about 20 players. So listen, man, outside of that, this year's team all over the place. They just have all the experience now. Guys like Blue Dantzler have done it. Trey Knox looks like he's healthy and ready to go. Tavita Kale. Now Bennett Scheller's back. They're just so much better prepared. Last year they came off as a little bit inexperienced, from DeMond at quarterback all the way to Miles at safety. They seem to have a little bit of inexperience, and now like you got somebody like Gio Richardson that's done it, and he's now the experienced vet in the room, carrying this wide receiver room. Cash Brock is able to make plays. Dash Blake is doing his thing. Noah Roberts, he's not the young freshman guy anymore. Like, he knows when to turn that thing on and go, and when he's got to shoulder the load and carry the team. So it's just very, very different. And Brody Veers, he doesn't have to be DeMond Williams. He's just got to be Brody Veers.
He is him. He is him.
I got a stat for you.
But hold on. Just like I told everybody, Mikey Keene did not have to be Jacob Conover. He just had to be Mikey Keene. And Brody Veers is going to go down the same path and be great.
Ralph, let me ask you this. If you are Jason Jewell, what do you do? How do you prepare for this Basha team on Friday night? I mean, it's a chess. I don't want to say it's a chess match. These are two coaches who we both love, Jason Jewell and Chris McDonald. If you're Jewell, what are you preparing? What are you looking to try to neutralize, so to speak?
Yeah, I wouldn't get, if I'm Jason Jewell, I'm not getting into too much of a chess match, because you look at Brody Veers and you're like, okay, well, let's not let him beat us deep. Let's bracket Gio or something along those lines. And then Brody Veers still has 2 games where he rushed for 60 or more yards. I think he went for over 70 against Mesa. You were at that game, right? So it's not like he can't function as a dual threat. So my advice to Jason Jewell would just be to do whatever it is you're going to do. Just line it up, play brophy football, see who wins, and see what adjustments need to be made later on down the line. But I don't know. He's certainly a threat. Brody Veers is, and here's a wild statistic. Basha has thrown for more than 300 yards as an individual. Basha has had an individual quarterback throw for more than 300 yards 7 times in the last 5 years. On that list, Brody Veers is number 1. Brody Veers is number 2. And he has started 5 games. The other were crazy. 4 years of DeMond, and DeMond wasn't out there trying to be a stat stuffer. It was really an efficiency thing for him. And I'm not saying that Brody Veers is out here trying to fill up the stat sheet.
No, I got you. That's a heck of a stat/list. No,
it's insane. He started the game with a 390-yard game, and then this week they kept him in. He might have thrown for 1,000,000 yards, but he had 379. I think DeMond Williams' highest game was was 376. The year that Damon, when I say that's not Damon's game, the year that Basha ran through everybody, he didn't have a single one. So, wow. It's not all about the stat sheet, but it is pretty wild when you say, like, it's not about filling somebody else's shoes. It's about wearing your own shoes. But if I'm Brophy, I look at this and I say, all right, this is just a very dangerous team. But you know what? We're a very dangerous team.
They are.
Let's just go hat on a hat and see what happens. And the last team to go out and get real physical with Basha won a semifinal game at Dobson High School. So just go out and play your game. This game is going to be awesome. There's so many good games this weekend, but this is my number one.
It is a good one. Yeah. Yes. The amount of games are, I'm torn between two. And let's jump ahead to the last game. We'll talk about the Hamilton Huskies. They keep on doing it. They are 5-0, 58-0 shutout. They increased their point total again. I really wasn't sure that they would score that many again, but yes, they blanked Valley Vista. First shutout since they whitewashed Corona, 50-0 in the round one of the final 8 in 2020. So it'd been some while before they had put up the donuts. Rich Lucero, this is what we like to see, 18 of 25 for 332 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jacob Brown, he excelled in short yardage situations. Ralph, I'll ask you this. Have we ever seen a game in which 13 different receivers on the same team caught a pass? That's crazy.
No, we haven't, especially when the receiver that caught the most balls, they had 3-4 guys catch 3. So it's not even like they just distributed it everywhere all game long. I feel like they're almost trolling us at this point, because to be up, 40-0 at one point and still be throwing the ball is pretty insane. They had 16 carries for the whole game. But the crazy thing about that is 3 of those carries went for about 135 of their 178 yards. So it was just every single thing that they did against Valley Vista worked. Lucero, 332 yards on 18 completions is insane. I think in this game, if you consider an explosive play, 20 yards or more, they had 7 or 8 of them, just tired themselves out running up and down the field. And then this defense to pitch a shutout that really feels like Hamilton football. So shout out to Delatorre and Tui Pelotu and Brazil for getting interceptions, Stowe Richardson and Ben Jones for getting sacks. Just an absolutely dominant performance. I mean, they did miss a field goal, so they weren't perfect, but I'm sure they'll work and get that one right as well.
Yeah, Charlie, I was going to ask you about this defense. I mean, the donut is special. We know that they score points. I mean, this is a Huskies team that, I saw them against Centennial, and it's like, okay, hey, yeah, they're good. We'll see how they go. But I had no idea that they would keep on scoring. Yeah, it's just nuts what they're doing.
Yeah, free 17. I can't wait to see my guy Reese Rinaldi get loose this week as he's finally going to be made available, the wide receiver that transferred over there. Okay, Derek LeBlanc. That kid is an absolute monster, an absolute terror for offensive linemen, running backs, and quarterbacks. The kid is an absolute problem. I can't wait to watch his career develop. So there is that. And then look, the whole, man, what Hamilton's doing is amazing. I said I wanted more Jacob Brown production, and I got more Jacob Brown production. My man walked into the end zone like I think 3 times carrying the ball, and then did he catch a touchdown also? Like, more Jacob Brown production, and they gave me more Jacob Brown production. So shout out to Coach Mazzone and Coach Pabler over there doing their thing, and Rich Lucero, absolutely magnificent what he did. And this is one of those situations, just like we said about Perry. They're doing what they have to do against teams that they have to do it against. Can't ask for better. Can't ask for anything more. I love what Coach Dixon's doing right now. Now we get to see how it how it really shapes up with
how it really goes down. Yes,
yeah.
And they're off until October 11th when region play starts. I'm kind of torn in what game I want to see. It's between Chandler and Liberty or Snowflake and Seton Catholic. I think I'm going to lean towards going out to 1150 North Dobson Road. I think I want to see the Seton Catholic Sentinels. It's we get to see Chandler play quite a bit. I'm going to see them during the region play, that's for sure. So I think I think it'll be Sentinel time on Friday night.
Is there another possibly bigger game for Seton down the stretch? I feel like this Snowflake game might be the biggest game for them.
I think it is. You figure they've got Independence the week after, Gila Ridge, at Sierra Linda, and home to La Jolla. So Snowflake is clearly the
We're 9-1 this year. We're 9-1, guys.
I like that.
We're gonna be 9-1 Seton.
That's that works. Let me ask you this, guys, about region play. It's fair to say that now think about their current records, and obviously everybody within the region plays everybody. You got 4 region games. Fair to say that anybody who goes 4-0 is getting into the final 8. I think that's obviously fair. If you are 3-1, are you pretty much automatically in, or does it factor on who might lose to who and who you beat and what your record is currently? Ralph, I'll start with you first because I'm going to see you a little bit more versed in the bus bonuses and all of that sort of stuff. And then Chile, I want to get your take on that. And then I'll even bring it down to 2-2.
I would say not Casteel, but maybe actually if Queen Creek keeps winning and Mountain Point keeps winning.
And we don't even necessarily have to say specific schools necessarily, but we can have, hey, you know what?
Well, yeah, I know. I do. I'm saying I think anybody in that region that goes 3-1 is in, except Casteel. I think they are, but it would be close. It would be close because then you would be in a situation where you're saying Casteel's not in, but somebody they beat is.
Right. That's correct.
And that seems like a thing that would piss Chile off.
That's tough.
Chile's big on the head-to-head, I feel like, that it should matter, and formula doesn't care at all. It's just code. It's just numbers to the formula. They don't take head-to-head into account at all.
Correct. So, they have their own bias.
I guess, I don't know. I don't know. Chile's got this belief. I don't think I'm outing you because we've talked about it enough, but Chile's got this belief that there is an invisible hand in the system.
For sure.
But my thing is, I would believe that would be true if they did take head-to-head into account, but it doesn't feel like they ever have. But yeah, no, 3-1 has to get you in that region.
No, Ralph, the head-to-head is you versus the AIA. They're like, what would piss Ralph off the most? Boom, we're going to make this happen. Let's get the clicks. That's what they do. I'm telling you, that's the head-to-head. You're mad all the time when this happens.
I've been mad for 5 years. I hate the Open, so it's whatever.
Okay. 3-1 gets you in.
3-1 gets you. 3-1 gets you in any team. Any team. 3-1 gets you in. 2-2 can only get Chandler, Hamilton, and Basha in right now, and that's dependent on what happens with Brophy and Mountain Point down the stretch.
That's fair.
Because there are some head-to-heads in there.
But Chile, Liberty's not a region game for Chandler.
Right.
So if they lose to Liberty,
it's going to depend.
Could go 2-2 and go 6-4 into the Open?
Well, right. A lot of people seem to believe. A lot of people seem to believe that Centennial still has a chance. All they have to do is smoke Liberty.
Which they're not going to do. And Centennial ain't getting in the elite.
But we don't know.
They ain't getting in.
So if Centennial smokes Liberty, a lot of people believe that that's their ticket in. That's what. Listen, they played Brophy, Hamilton, and Highland, and they played them all very, very close. Their strength of schedule is about to be off the charts, and they're going to start compiling the victories of all those teams. If Highland ends up running the table, then what? Then that Centennial loss doesn't look so bad. If Hamilton ends up running the table, Centennial loss doesn't look so bad. If Brophy ends up 9-1, that means that we're talking about a team that, so like, yeah, I think 2-2. I think 2-2 can help the current top of the Premier. Maybe Chandler, I'm on the fence about, but
Chili just described
sure.
a scenario in which Centennial could go 6-4 and get in, but because Chandler might have a loss to Liberty, they'd be 6-4 on the outside because of Liberty's loss.
Maybe they'd be in also. Or maybe they'd be in also.
2 6-4 teams.
2 6-4 teams. That'd be wild. I just don't see I don't know. I just 4 losses is
right now. I don't see it either. Right now, I don't see a 6-4 team in there either. But I mean, I think it just depends on who those victories are against,
who gets beaten, who doesn't, and how the rest. Yeah. I mean, and as we know, the back half of the season with the transfers eligible, it's a whole different world than the front half. Your back 5 is better than your front
100%.
Or different.
You know the deal.
5. So yeah, it's good stuff. But yes, I believe I will. Yes, indeed. I believe I will check out Pete Walheim, and I'm going to root on the machine on Friday night.
The machine is back.
Yes,
it's a new machine.
AI version.
Yeah. Good stuff. Cool deal. He's Chili. He's Ralph. I'm Brett. We'll see you guys next week with more results.